Okay, this first part, after you open up your image for the Pantone Photo 9 Up, you're going to go ahead and rotate this image. My image is in the wrong direction, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees CW, which is clockwise. So you have the swimmer actually coming into the pool right now. I want to isolate the swimmer, and I'm also going to use, I get to pick the color. In this case, I could do a skin color. I could choose this sort of reddish color. I could choose this orange color. First thing we're going to start off with is how do you figure out what Pantone it is. But before you do that, we want to clean up this image and make sure that it has a good color quality to it. So for that, we can start in a few ways. First of all, you can clean up the entire image, or you can use any number of selection tools to pick out your swimmer and add her or him or whatever the image is into its own layer, and that's how I'm going to get started. A reminder, Magic Wand is good for selecting things of a certain color range, a very similar color, and Quick Select is great for adding objects and areas. So it's more of an edge detector, so that when I click and I drag this, it's finding edges. You can see that if the colors are too close, it's going to have difficulty in finding it. So I can drag this in there. I can continue sort of clicking and dragging this out. I'm going to do a pretty bad job at this. I will admit to it. I don't want to spend 12 years on this. I let go of the click. I move it over. I'm going to come over to here, get into the hair, make sure I have the rest of that leg. I can refine this selection. First of all, I can't forget her face. But I can refine this selection. I can get rid of this little extra part over here that I can't seem to get rid of. I can come up here to the minus tool to subtract it out, which means I can just pull that in there, just like that, but then I lost this part of the leg. I can come back to the plus and I can try to add in that leg. In this case it worked pretty well, but it gave me this little funky area here. In that case, when I've tried everything else, I am actually going to move to Quick Mask. Quick Mask is right down here. It's a little tool that will change part of your image to red, and the rest of it will remain the same clear color. In this case, I'm going to go ahead to my brushes. I'm going to change it to a hard-edged brush, and black reveals and white conceals. Basically what that means is if I have the white brush up and I paint on this canvas, it has now revealed it so that when I turn off this Quick Mask mode, I now have a new selection. So I can switch these colors by pressing this arrow or the X key on my keyboard. And I can paint that back in red so that when I turn this off, it no longer is part of my selection. Don't forget little tiny points. So in this case, I am going to Control plus in. I'm going to go ahead and move this up. I'm going to go ahead and get this leg properly placed in. I'm doing some individual clicks. I'm also going to switch the colors over to white. I'm going to fix that calf because there's a little bump in there. Okay. I might also fix the back of her leg to make sure that it's fairly accurate. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can see right now that I have some parts of the hair that are not looking so good. I would really want to spend time perfecting that. I am not going to spend a lot of time right now. In fact, I'm just about done. We're going to pretend that this looks wonderful. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. I might actually come back to my Quick Select and minus out a little bit more here. See if I can get that in there. I lost the entire arm. Let's try and add that in. Sometimes working in reverse is very helpful. So we're going to pretend that this is wonderful. And then we're going to go ahead, click on the hand, zoom back out, and then press the Control J key. And what we did, nothing changes on your screen except for in your layer menu. You now see that you have the swimmer isolated. The swimmer is all by itself. At this stage, we can start to correct this layer. So make sure you've got this layer active, and then you can do all your normal corrections. You've got your image adjustments. In here you can work in brightness and contrast. You can work on levels. If something needs a bit of an adjusting in a color family, we can work into curves. We can work also at a number of things, but levels, hue, and saturation are some that are really, really important. So the very first thing some people will look at is maybe tweaking the hue just a little bit. This is a +1. Just plus a couple or minus a couple might get you to where you need to be. Saturation will make the colors much more vibrant. Obviously, do not oversaturate. Give it something that will give it enough pow. To start with, I like to go to levels, and you can start on an auto, but you can see on this one, auto did not do it any justice. I'm going to Control Z, and I'm going to manually go ahead and adjust some of these to give us some better values inside of this figure, okay? So we can say, you know what, yep, I think that's looking a lot better. I like that a lot. I think that's exactly where I want her to be. Now I need to figure out my Pantone. You're going to probably try to keep a little bit of a log either on the computer or on paper. When you go to your eyedropper, what you can do is you can click, do we want the bathing suit orange, the bathing suit dark orange, or do we want her skin tone? Pick. Let's do that dark, okay? We got that dark reddish orange. What I did was I got the eyedropper tool, I clicked on it, and it added it right here in my color picker. When I double click here, we're used to seeing this. This is the color that we're on right now. This is how basically the color is created. This is its sort of signature. If I copied that and I used it on another document, it would put this exact same red in. But in terms of Pantones, if we go to our color library, you're going to see that this color best matches up with Pantone 485M. That's how we find our Pantone, okay? So in this case, I might start a new document. I'm going to go ahead and do a new document. I'm going to go ahead and do a 3" by 3" document. Don't forget, change this to inches. And it's going to be a 3" by 3" document. I'm going to go ahead and paint bucket in. You could do paint bucket. It's located either the gradient tool or the paint bucket, and you can paint bucket it in. You can also do edit and fill, and you could tell it, I want you to fill with the foreground color that we have up here, the background color, a specific color, etc. Okay, so that's filled right now with that particular color. When I come to this layer, I can now go ahead and duplicate. I right-clicked on the layer. I can duplicate that layer over to my Untitled document that I just created. That's the one that's right here. Looks like nothing happened, but when we go over here, we can see that yes, she is here. Now, problem is the documents are quite different in sizes. So if you have this happen, of course you can Control T and you could bring it down in size. Like if I wanted to bring it down up here, I can bring it down to 50% on the height and 50% on the width, and I'm pretty darn close to where I would need to be. I can now hold the Shift key, bring it down in size, position her just right. Okay, I can go ahead and enter to commit, and she is now placed on that individual piece right there. Okay, now I can also add my little white onto the bottom. I can change my canvas size. You can do that here. We can go ahead and add that white right onto the bottom by checking the relative box. On the height, I'm going to add 0.5 of an inch. I'm going to situate my image to the top. That's by pressing this arrow, putting this is my picture right here, which means all 1/2 of an inch is going on the bottom. And I've also selected white to be the extension color. And what that will do for me is this. It's added that extra piece of white on the bottom, only on the bottom, where I can actually put my text. I can now go to my text tool. Text tool will take a little while to work. It's a fairly sophisticated tool in here. It has a lot of things to do. So when you click it, give it a moment. Don't just keep clicking. I like to drag a text box. Some people will just click and start typing. I particularly like a text box just because I like to have the exact location, the end to my text. I like to have that all there and waiting. Same as in Microsoft Word or other Word applications. You'll see your justification can go on the left. You can change your font style. I'm going to go ahead and pick something rather plain. I can change my font size. I think I'll probably keep it pretty close to where it's at right here. And I can start off with Pantone. Now I'm getting no writing. I can switch that over to black, and I now have my Pantone. I think it was 385, and if I'm not sure, I can very easily go back and check that. 385M. Technically, done. I can now figure out, do I want this there? Do I want this there? Do I want this bigger? What's cool about it is if I Control T on that box and I drag it larger, it will automatically resize and change my font to an appropriate size. Like this is 23.31 point font now. Instead of me going back and changing it, let me try 18, let me try 20, let me try 21, etc. Okay? So again, to get back to your text, because you haven't worked a lot with text in here, to get to your text, you see that that text box will be a T. It will also write the information or the beginning of the information as your layer title. To get back to typing this, let's say I mistyped something and I forgot the O. I can double click on the T. Click, click, it highlights it and I can fix it. And then I can go ahead and click off of it to accept it. And that is the basis for this part. You're going to do 9 individuals and then we'll talk about how they're going to come together.